at you, I'm looking.
All right. I'm told I'm the entertainment for today, so I will play this, but it also comes in handy if you ever get scared, you can hide behind it. It's nice. So I had a really embarrassing moment when I was in the 8th grade. I know, huge shocker for the 8th grade. I was in band, and one day I was walking into the band class with all my other students, and I found that my band director was playing the drum set as we were walking in. Now, he's a legendary band director. Shout out to Marlon Foster, Harrisonburg, Virginia. But he also was a master jazz drummer as well. And on this day when we were walking in, he was playing the drums and not, up on the podium with his baton. And as he's playing the drums, he says, "David, come over here. I want you to play with me." So all the other students are getting ready to go. They're sitting down. And I walk over, and I have no idea what to do. I've never improvised in my life. I had no idea really what jazz was at all. And he asked me to play with him. So I had no clue what to do. And I said, "Mr. Foster, I don't know what to play. I have no idea what to do here." He said, "Well, just here, look at that sheet. There's a sheet. And on a music stand, there was a sheet with one scale on it. I think I even remember which scale it was. It was just this one scale, very simple. Excuse me. I think it was, just that one scale. And I didn't know anything else to do, so I think I just sat there and played this single scale over and over and over again. It was really embarrassing. And I know that I left after that thinking, I don't really like this music. I don't think I am intelligent enough to play it. And that's that. But he caught me on the way out of class that day. And he said, "David, you're never going to be able to play this music if you don't listen to it first. And so I want you to take this big stack of LPs." He just handed me this stack of LPs, jazz LPs. And I went home and I listened to all of them. And when I listened to these jazz records, I still didn't like most of them. Now, but there were two by John Coltrane that spoke to me somehow, and I didn't really understand it that well. But what I know now is there is a language being spoken to me, even though I didn't speak it yet. And from that moment until now, I consider myself a student of this music. And I'm standing here today not as a master of anything, but as a fellow student of this great music that I am so passionate about. And I want to share that with you today, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about the music and confusion about it. So my big goal today is to reveal what's going on when jazz musicians are playing music together. And so that's the mission, and I'm going to help my fellow classmates out today with your homework, or I guess it's probably classwork because we're all here together. So what we're going to do is watch actually a video of some really fantastic jazz musicians who have given me the permission to show this. This is the great drummer Stockton Helding, playing with the torchbearer of the Texas tenor saxophone tradition, Mr. Shelly Carroll from Houston, Texas, Dr. Sergio Parmes on piano, and Young Kyo on bass. It's a song called Pant, Pant, Sock, Sock. And here's your assignment. While we're listening to this, it's very short, don't worry. While we're listening to this, I want you to ask yourself, am I hearing complete freedom? Am I hearing unrestricted emotional outpouring? Or am I hearing constraints? Am I hearing some kind of boundaries around this? That's your homework, and we'll talk about it after we've watched it, okay? So here we go. Hopefully. Now, if you're like me, you heard freedom. I mean, it was freedom, it was expressive, it was beautiful. But what if freedom is really just defined by the boundaries that it transcends? I think it is. And what I want to talk about is not the freedom that they're showing you outwardly, but the constraints that they are putting upon themselves before they play. That's where the depth of this music goes. And I want you to bear with me, okay? So when we talk about constraints, a lot of times we think about it as being too restrictive, not a good thing. But I want to imagine for a second we order a violin string on the internet. And our violin string comes in the mail. It's going to come to us probably in a paper pouch if you've never ordered one before. It comes in the pouch, and then you take the pouch out apart, and you take the string out, and you throw it on the table, and it makes a sound like and then if you take your finger and you try to pluck the string, it doesn't really make a sound at all. So when does the violin string make music? Well, it's when it is constrained on both sides, tightly. And then we draw a bow across it. And that's when music comes out of this violin string. And so similarly, these musicians are constraining themselves in some really interesting ways. And really, they do it so well that you don't even think about it while they're playing. And so I want to talk about three main ways that they were just doing that, because I think it's really fascinating. First of all, there was a pulse in that piece of music that was constantly going on. It's about right here. Do it with me, come on. Boom, 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 boom. We just ran like 5 miles, right? Boom, 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 right there. Now, what's interesting is you might be thinking, wait, I didn't really hear that all the time. And you didn't. This is one of the first amazing magic tricks that these people do. So, in a lot of music that we hear, like for instance, rock and roll, what's the beat? It's usually boom, boom, ga, boom, 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 ga, boom, boom, ga. It's clearly audible all the time. Jazz music had this as well when it was the popular dance music of America in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. We heard the beat really solidly all the time. It's evolved since then. And so now the pulse is there. But what's really incredible is it's not always being played. So there are 4 musicians who are playing music at the same time and feeling a pulse which is not overtly being played by anyone necessarily all the time. That's pretty amazing. But then it continues. If you can believe this, that song actually did have a melody. And so the melody, I don't know if you recall it, it was something like, does that sound familiar? Right, blah, 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 and then the end of it. That was the melody. It was pre-written. It was pre-written melody. And the melody in a piece of music where jazz musicians are playing occupies a certain amount of space. It carves space out for itself. And what jazz musicians then do is they run a ring around that space over and over and over again. Musicians call it a form. You don't have to worry about that. Don't worry. I didn't even say that, okay? And so they keep doing it over and over, but once the melody is first played, then they start to improvise and compose. And so these musicians played the melody at first, but then they started commenting on it. And jazz musicians love to be funny as well, so they're also being sarcastic sometimes. They have inside jokes about the melody. And yet again, here's more magic. They all were aware of where they were in relation to that melody at all times. So they're aware of this pulse all the time. And they're aware of the melody at all the time, even when it's not being played. And then there's a third thing. And the third thing is called harmony. Harmony is like an ecosystem of sound that underlies all of the music that we're hearing. It underlies the melody and provides context for it. In this particular song, a lot of the time, there is this one particular sound that we heard. if we could get the audio track for that. That's sort of the home base of this song. And there's a set of notes that go with it. You can kind of hear how they all kind of work with that sound, right? But that's not always the sound that's happening. Some other times, there's a completely different harmony that's playing that's different. And if I could get the second one up then. It's different. And if I play that initial set of notes, it doesn't sound as good. They don't work. By the way, you can tell they don't work by looking at my face. So the musicians in real time have to change the set of notes that they play when the harmony changes. So any one of these musicians at any time is keeping track of the pulse. And they know, I'm good, thank you. It's okay, thanks. They're keeping track of the pulse. They know where they are in the melody at all times. And they're following this changing, shifting ecosystem of harmony at all times. And then on top of that, they're composing and performing at the same time. You've heard of improvisation maybe before. I don't know if that's a good enough word. They're composing and performing at the same time while keeping track of all three of those things. I think that's incredible. But then we're not even at the end yet. Because what they're also doing is they're listening to each other do this while they are also doing it. They're listening and speaking at the same time. They're listening and speaking at the same time. What's the analogy for us? Can we do that? Well, I'm just trying to think here. What would it look like if we tried to do this? So 4 of us are going to get together, and somehow we're going to talk all at the same time, but not interrupting each other the way your grandparents do sometimes when they try to talk to you. They're not interrupting each other, they're actually listening to each other. And in the process of listening, speaking, they come up with a product that is greater than the sum of their parts. It's remarkable. And it's only done through decades of study and hard work on their part. It's not random, man. It's not a random music. It's not pure emotion. It's real specific, and it's incredible. And most people aren't going to be able to dedicate decades of practice on an instrument to become a jazz musician, and that's fine. But what I wonder is, what do they have in common with us? What do they need to do also to do that? I think they need empathy. If I'm one of the 4 of them, and the other 3 want to go a certain direction because they feel they need to go a certain other direction in this group improvisation that we're doing. Okay, let's go that way. I wasn't going to, but that's interesting. I feel you. We'll go that way. They need to listen constantly. And I think they need humility. I'm not the best person in this group. I don't have the only good idea. Maybe that person does too. Maybe that person does too. So, while we're not jazz musicians, physiologically we're the same. We're human. And what they show us is that humans can do this. There are humans who can speak and listen at the same time. And as fellow humans, I think we can take the empathy from that. We can be inspired by that. We can listen better. How humble are we? We can learn. So, this music is very, very deep, and I truly hope that I've helped in some way illuminate the great things that happen inside of it. I'm so thankful to Mr. Foster. That's Mr. Foster. And I'm so thankful to you for listening today. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.